So here we go again. This is where we left off in the last video. Most of the soldering's now done, so I can turn it over and crack on fitting that top plate and get all the pins and stuff in for that, but I need to get that flywheel in first. If you remember in the last video, I did that little bearing which was all dry and I had to redo that. Well, this is what the flywheel runs in, keeps it nice and smooth. I think I'll just speed things up a bit for the rest of the video, just so it don't get too boring. I'll just stick a new drive belt on this, which I must get on before the top plate's screwed in place. There's about 16 screws holds that on. Or you could do like I did last time and forget to put the drive belt on and then have to do it all again. So with the top plate screwed in, I can start soldering up to this weird little slide switch thing, which is used to switch the amplifier section instead of using switching transistors, which is how they used to do it in the day. I want to fit the head block next so I can thread those wires down the hole and get them connected, but it needs a bit of refettling first. As you can see, it's all stained and horrible and pitted. The heads look okay though, a bit worn, but I think they're usable. I will have a look online and see if I can find some replacement heads, but I doubt it now, they're pretty old. Once I get all these bits off, I can stick that bottom plate in the ultrasonic bath and leave it to soak. I will turn it on and off a few times, but it only lasts for about 4 minutes. I think I need to treat myself to a more bigger one. Something like this should do nicely, I think, as long as air indoors don't get to find out. We need to find a way of disguising that. So with everything nice and clean now, I can stick it all back together. I've had that switch apart as well and rewired all that, cleaned all the base, cleaned up all the heads while they were off, so we should be all good now. I'm only putting these on roughly for now, but the height and level and azimuth of the heads will all need to be set up once I get it on. But it's 12 o'clock, so time for snap. I'll just drop a bit of thread lock on here. I use red thread lock for these, and then heat it all up with my hot gun. Just goes a bit jellified and stops the screws from vibrating loose. What's the set? So with that done, I can get it mounted on the top plate, get those wires in place, get it set up a little bit more and start putting the rest of the stuff on the top plate. So with that set up and tightened down as much as I can do for now, I'll get these cables put back in, get them soldered up, and then I'll crack on with getting the piano keys put on. This looks like fun. Trying to get these piano keys back in here is no fun at all. For some reason there's a little tag on the bottom of the middle one and it doesn't seem to hit that bottom plate properly. I might have to just file that off. It seems a little bit tight for some reason, and it shouldn't. It should be nice and loose. That should be just flop it up and down. There's little spring clips that go on the back of these, but without that spring clip it should just fall down, but for some reason this one doesn't want to go in, but we'll get there. Ah yes, with the magic of editing, look how easy I get these in now. Look, see, it didn't take me any messing around whatsoever. They went in nice and smooth first time. There, all done, springs in, fitted. Now, time for the motor, but I think before we go any further with the motor, let's have a look at just what I had to do to get to this stage, because it wasn't easy. This was one of the main issues with this reel-to-reel recorder. The motor's completely seized up, rusted, gunky and horrible. It won't even turn. So I decided to strip the thing completely down, give it a bit of a bath and see if I could rescue it. I have got another one just in case, out of another old machine, but I want to try and get this one working if I can. I have done an installation test on those cables and that's all okay, so it's literally mechanical that's stopping it from working. Take it over to my wash tub and give it a bit of grief with the scrubbing brush and Dremel, and that should be able to sort this out, hopefully. That reminds me, I must make an appointment at the dentist before she gives me more grief. And that's it, all nice and clean, freed up, everything nice and dry, and I think we can stick that in now and hopefully it'll work okay. Can't tell you how many times I've bent my fingers trying to get this motor in. These silly little circlips everywhere. There's about 60 circlips on this chassis and it's no fun. So this little bit is the top part of the motor. It's the bit that the idler reel runs on. and that's what changes the speeds. That's if it ever works again. So next step for me was to get the reel tables put back on. That's pretty straightforward. There's a plate that the belt runs on, and it has a bit of foam inside that makes it, or allows it to slip, and there's just one pin underneath that holds it in. Nice and easy. Now that's the bottom of the shaft of the reel table, and that little plate moves up and down, as you can see. And what it does is when you press the play button, it acts like a little clutch and pulls that reel table down onto that foam pad so that it keeps the tape tension up. It's quite cool really when you haven't got any electronics to do it, just use a metal plate. So most of the mechanics now done, I can get the mains cable put back on, get that soldered back onto the bottom of the pot and the switch, and get this clamp put in, and then we should be good to go. And I reckon I can power it up and see where the smoke comes out of first. The lead's okay, it's not too bad condition, and I've kept the original because, well, it's the original and I wanted to keep it as original as I can. This originally had a bit of yellow tape holding the end of the valve down. It just pushes down on those springs. It's held down by the top plate when it's all put back together, but for now I've just got a bit of heat shrink and super glued it to the deck, and then I can tuck that valve head underneath and it'll hold it in place until the cover's back on. Right, the pinch roller assembly arm. This was rusted, pitted, gouged up and horrible. So I completely stripped it, as everything else, cleaned it all, serviced it all, and ready to stick back on. And I've made another little felt pad for the head, which is cool. Right, time to plug it in and power it up. I've taken the fan off the bottom so it doesn't grind itself on my bench. I'll just plug a speaker in and just leave it on there for now. That's off the old case that this came out of. I'm not going to be using that one. And just run through the, put a couple of tapes on and run through and make sure that the brakes are working and that the clutches are working, the different speeds are working. But I think they're going to need a bit of setting up though. This is an old tape that I bought off eBay. I bought a load, about 6 or 7 tapes for 10 quid I think. It's okay for just messing around setting up these things, but no good for recording on it. It's completely had it. It's alright for this. Now I've got to set that spring tension tight enough on that pulley on top of the motor shaft so that these actually spin. Yep, that's fine. Fast forward's alright, but that's easy. It's the rewind one because there's only one pinch roller on that, and it looks like it's not going to go. Just test that brake, and yeah, it's just making a noise, so that needs a bit more tension on that spring. It just moves it across, pushes the pressure onto that pinch roller, so I'll have to get that sorted out. It's not a problem. So that's all the brake bands sorted out, everything seems to be okay. Fast forwards and rewinds. Let's watch as I electrocute myself on the live part underneath my left hand. That hurt. Now, once I'd recovered from the shock, which was quite painful but still funny, I noticed that this motor's buzzing and humming. It shouldn't be making that noise. When I do turn the chassis upside down it goes quiet, so there must be some bearing missing or something wrong with the way I've put it back together, which means I've got to take that motor apart again and fix it. So I think that's enough for this video. In the next one I'll try and repair this manky old microphone, stick it in its case and repair that, and hopefully get it finished.